This video is made as a follow-on from my previous video titled Why I Would Like to Be a Christian But I Can't. So then, Christianity is a Western religion, whereas the Dao came from East Asia, mainly China. From a Western perspective, Daoism itself is not really a religion in a Western sense of how we interpret religion, really. The word Dao tends to translate into meaning the way, the path, the route, the road or flow. This is a brief history of Daoism. I will go into further details describing about the history of Daoism, but this is just a brief overview of Daoism itself, just for now. Daoism traces its roots to roughly the 6th century BCE. Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, who wrote the now iconic book the Daoism about and on the tenets of the Dao. Lao Tzu's successor Zhuangzi further developed Taoist principles. Now, Daoism is a vast and expansive philosophy and way, or Dao, of life, equally with a rich history all of its own. The Daoism and Zhuangzi are the first or original foundations of Daoism. The first, or the foundations of Daoism, is said to be the philosophical Daoism called Daojia, spelt D-A-O-J-I-A, and later aspects called Daojiao, spelt D-A-O-J-I-A-O, which is become known as religious Daoism. But this is an inaccurate observation of Daoism because there is no philosophical and then religious Daoism. Basically, Daoism itself evolved over time and it developed. It is wrong to see Daoism as these two separate things. By the Han Dynasty, considerable changes or developments had taken place by this time. As it evolved, it became naturally more organised, which is where it became known as religious Daoism, which, as I say, is a wrong interpretation of looking at Daoism. It is both philosophical and also religious as one. One of the first forms of this evolution is called Tianqi Dao, or the Way of the Celestial Masters. Now, from here, Daoism steadily evolved and has become what it is today. So what exactly is the Dao? Well, the Dao can be roughly thought of as the way or flow of the universe, which keeps the universe itself balanced and ordered. This balancing is and can be linked into the idea that the Dao is a non-dualistic principle. The Dao can be thought of as a greater whole from which all individual elements of the universe derive. But to balance, like a set of scales, you could imagine, suggests two of something to balance. It is better or more ideal to think of this balancing as a relationship, but a relationship between Wu, which is a Chinese word spelt W-U, which translates into meaning void or emptiness, which is linked yet into another Chinese word called Wuji, spelt W-U-J-I, meaning limitless or infinite. So limitless or infinite, emptiness or void. Now then, the other half of this relationship goes to yin-yang, which means a dynamic natural balance between opposites. So this would mean material things that can be grasped or conceived, basically the opposite to void, hence why it's on the opposite side of the scale of this balance. This balance between Wu and yin-yang leads to the Dao's central principle of Wu-wei. Wu-wei means inaction or inexertion, or as I like to think of it, as effortless action, basically a delicate balance of self and surroundings. What does this have to do with me, you ask? How can I be the Dao, you wonder? Hence the title of this video. Well, I left the ending of the previous video, why I would like to be a Christian but I can't, suggesting that God is actually within all people, or better put, within all things. Now, this idea of an internal God goes entirely against the Christian belief in the idea of an external God or a monotheistic God. But to call every person individually God in a Christian sense is inappropriate for various reasons. But I doubt that Jesus had any knowledge of Daoism, so didn't identify himself or his experience with the mindset of Daoism. I mean, if he had, then I imagine that Christianity would look wildly different today. So we have this situation then where it's very impractical to identify as a creator of the universe as an external being, because here we all are as part of this universe, as part actually of it. We all, in my belief, grew from this planet Earth in much the same way as fruit grows from a tree. You can look at it this way: was the fruit grown or made and then put onto the tree? No. So in the same way, we grew from this planet Earth. It's a bit more of an organic process than this way. We weren't made and then put onto Earth, basically. So we aren't therefore external to this universe or even from Earth, like how the Christian idea of God actually is. Thus, you'll see, this is why identifying yourself as an external being would prove to be difficult. Now then, this is where I turn towards the Dao. If we aren't an external being, then we are an ordered, balanced flow of the universe, which sounds remarkably like the Dao. The universe, in other words, has found a way in which to order itself, its atoms, its quanta, into a balanced way or flow, which has resulted in us all being here now, and everything else separate from us. So in our very essence of being, we all are the Dao. We all are the universe to a larger extent. Now, I'm not here to sell you something. This way of seeing life cannot be grasped as a concept. More, it is a lived experience of one's everyday life. Because the Dao is the flow, you essentially are the flow. You flow in a different, or probably better put, distinct fashion compared to somebody else who flows in their own distinct fashion. The Dao orders itself in this way to create a balance, which is where I go on to yin and yang. We have all been exposed or have seen the symbol of yin yang at some point in our lives. Yin yang can be thought of as being the comparison to day and nighttime, among many other opposites. But it is because of them being opposites is as to how they become a mutuality. The day flows into the nighttime and vice versa. Day and night are rightfully independent things, which is how we can distinguish one from the other. Say, if it was always daytime, then we wouldn't have nighttime, and if we didn't know of nighttime, how would we know to call the day the daytime? So, in an effect, one implies complements or is mutually one with the other. Of course, this is a very simplified way of seeing yin-yang, but when you see this relationship between yin and yang in all things, one thing implies the other, you could say. Night implies day, good implies evil, and life implies death, and so on. this is where I come back to you yourself. If the void or wu, emptiness, implies non-existence, then the universe itself implies you, basically existence. So void implies existence. One implies the other. Humanity is part of this universal Dao, as are all other aspects of existence and reality. Within this pantheistic philosophical system, one could say, humanity is to strive to become as one with the Tao in mind and spirit. This gives ethics itself an important role in Daoism, as humanity strives for this unity. So Daoism asserts a balancing of good and evil in one's own life. One could say that the Tao itself is nature, and you are more wise in your nature than you are in your conscious thought. This means, in other words, keep your mind like nature. Don't try and force things to do the impossible. So, how can this work for you then? And I mean you specifically. It's all very well me explaining how you are the Tao or what the Tao does. I haven't really explained a why or an idea or a how to. So, there are 4 main principles that the Tao can help you navigate or take voyage or flow in your own life. Each aspect or principle deserves a video all of their own. But the first principle is going with the flow. This is the theory behind Wu Wei, which, as explained earlier, is a delicate balancing of both self and surrounding. The second aspect is simplicity. So simplicity, patience, compassion and thought. There is a ceremony in Chinese and Japanese culture called the tea ceremony. This tea ceremony encapsulates simplicity at its roots, basically. I will explain on this ceremony in a later video, go into a bit more detail about it. The third aspect is letting go. This aspect is profound and in some sense fairly deep. If one realises that they and all things are the Tao, then you will realise that all things change or flow. If all things are ever changing, then there really isn't anything to hold on to. So one realises the concept of letting things go. I know that it's quite common to think of the Tao as similar to water. If you try and hold on to water, then you're not going to hold on to anything, and you're going to kind of drown. If you try and swim against the flow of the river or the water, then you're going to have a difficult time. But if you let go of this fighting against the way the world kind of flows, then you will be then going into the first principle, which is going with the flow. So one kind of plays into the other. The fourth aspect is harmony. Harmony is the ability or concept of embracing yin-yang. Yin-yang is form, pattern, balance, and basically harmony between two opposites. All 4 of these aspects come down to you. You are a distinct pattern or aperture that flows like the Tao. Because you are the Tao orders itself and creates you, life, consciousness, or better put, experience. In bigger language, the Tao has ordered, balanced and fashioned itself in such an artistic and beautiful way so as it can be aware of itself. You are aware of yourself, therefore the Tao is aware of itself. but it does it in such a way it never gets tired or bored of doing so. It never makes an artistic mistake, whether that's you or what you feel is external to you. The Tao is in all things, so really nothing is external, so everything in a sense, or in a loose sense, is all the Tao. This Tao never makes a mistake. Beauty is the world, and beauty is in you. So, to end this video, this is why and how, and in a short summary, what to do when I say that you are the Tao. Thank you for watching.